Jesus didn't have a problem with people that's in the streets. He had a problem with religious people.
How can I help anybody when when I was not even able to help my own son?
I would never do that. I would never do that. And I became that in a matter of minutes when they took my pain pills away.
And I said, I'm not where I want to be, but thank God I'm not what I used to be.
This is Faith in Your Recovery. I am Randy Davis. Welcome to the battle. Hey, thank you, folks. We're glad you're back with us. I'm Randy Davis. This is the Faith in Your Recovery podcast. I think this is about episode 119 or 120. So thanks for sticking with us, staying with us, supporting us. We continue to need that. Like, subscribe, and share. Let your friends know what's happening because we think we're finding a pathway to help many of you in your recovery journey. I'm particularly excited today to have our guest with us, Mr. Mark Kendall of Great White. Thanks, Mark. Glad you're with us.
Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Thank you. So where are you coming from today? Where are you located?
I live kind of near Palm Springs, maybe 20 minutes from Palm Springs, kind of up in the foothills. Not really quite mountains.
All right. Okay, all right. I'll bet you've got a beautiful view of them from there, though. Yes.
Yeah, it's nice and quiet. My neighbors, there's a lot of like law enforcement here, firemen, really nice neighbors, and it's kind of a quiet community, so really enjoy it.
You've not always led a quiet life from your history.
Yeah, when I get home, it's not quite so mayhem, but, out there, a lot of travel, a lot of,
Yeah. Well, I think what we'd like to do today, as we've already spoken, this is probably going to be a two-part thing, and we'll take part number one, and we'll talk about your professional life. We'll talk about what it's been like on stage, what music means to you, what it's been like to be a part of a band, the caliber that you've been involved with. And then episode number two, we'll get into your addiction struggle and your recovery. So that just kind of lays the groundwork for folks.
Okay.
You're becoming a musician. To the best of your knowledge, was that a personal choice? I know intergenerationally that you had several, your parents, your grandparents, I don't know how far back that goes, that were musically inclined and talented. Was this a choice you made on your own, or did you feel it was an expectation to get into the music industry?
Well, as a young boy, I was surrounded by music, for one thing. My dad was a jazz trumpet player. My mother sang. Everybody on her side of the family were singers and piano players, and my grandpa was an accomplished kind of a ragtime old school vaudeville touring, piano player, with the dancing girls, and his left hand, like he played the bass like so incredible. It's like when I got old enough to understand how good he was, I really appreciated it a lot more than I did when I was a little kid. But so I had all that going on, and I used to sing along to some of their records with mostly my mom's music, which had a lot of singers like the Dionne Warwicks and stuff like that. And I was singing along to songs like "Girl from Ipanema" when I was like 6 years old, and because of the DNA and everything, my dad had perfect pitch. It kind of swam into me. I could hear the music well and interpret it good and replicate it like I was singing in key at 6 years old, So I've been kind of blessed with that, having a good ear for music. And I told the story before, but there was a band when I was 9 years old that played across the street from me, and I used to watch them through this little window in the side door of their garage. And one day, the bass player was playing with his teeth. And for some reason, that made me go crazy. And I kind of begged my dad to get me a guitar. And then I started to learn my way around the neck and really didn't really put it down much for a year. And I was learning from actually neighbor kids that were more advanced than me. They taught me a few chords, and I was able to pick up on a few songs, and then started playing with this other kid that was my age. And we played for the fourth grade class. We were playing songs like, like Wipeout, Pipeline, Gloria, Secret Agent Man, and so
Man, you're bringing them all back to me. I live that time
exactly,
frame.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's cool.
so those songs, and they were easy to learn because they were the chords that I'd learned, right? And almost all the songs, Gloria was like EDA, and that was it, So it was a lot of fun, and then so I kind of stuck with it. And my dad, when I was 10, he got me a guitar and 3 albums. Cream, a band called Cream, Jimi Hendrix, and The Doors. And believe it or not, when I listened to those records, I would just sing along like I did when I was a little boy. I wasn't really listening, Guitar Flash or, Guitar Tricks or whatever they were doing on that side of it. Really wasn't paying attention to it. I was singing with the singer. I was fascinated by the melody and the song, and but at the same time, I'm learning my way around the neck from my neighbors. So I was paying more attention to them than Jimi Hendrix at that time. When I started to move toward 11, 12, 13, like then I started paying more attention to guitar players. Like the first one that really got my full attention was Carlos Santana, and I was learning songs and playing with a friend of mine named Greg Parent, who actually his brother was killed in the Sharon Tate murders, the Manson murders. Way back when,
Yes.
his name was
Yes.
Stephen Parent. He was kind of an electronics guy, and he could put radios together and stuff and sell them and this, that, and the other. And he went up to the Tate residence because he knew the caretaker, and he went up to sell him a radio, and that's when all those Manson people were there. So kind of a going off the curve there for you, but I was just kind of explaining who his brother was, that I used to play guitar with him in El Monte,
Sure.
California. And that's where I kind of got my start as far as playing songs, kind of hearing the groove of the song and playing along, So I was getting a little bit better. And then by the time I was 15, from 15 to 18 is where I kind of honed my skills enough to where I felt I was good enough to play in a band. And because I was playing guitar like crazy, man, totally obsessed with it. And that's when I really started to pay attention to more guitar players, the Johnny Winter and Alvin Lee, and most of the guys were kind of had the blues overtones to their playing, which is a little bit strange because everybody thought I might be like my dad, like a jazz, a guy who gravitated toward the jazz, because my dad was a straight ahead jazz trumpet player, but I was so far away from that. But my dad was very gifted. He knew music theory. In high school, he wrote for all the instruments. Like him and my grandpa wrote all the music out for the clarinet, the trombone, they wrote it all out. So they were really, well schooled in the music side of things, to where I was just going by my ear. And I remember when I was 15, my dad set up a metronome, one of those block wood ones that just clicked, click, 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 right? He goes, play something. And I go, I don't know what to play. And he goes, just play anything, you know? And so I played and I was right in rhythm with that thing. Just kind of, you know, I kind of felt like that's what he wanted, but I had no problem playing with it. And he just goes, you might do okay.
You may have a
Yeah,
future at
yeah.
this, right?
It was kind of
Yeah,
telling me
yeah,
the
that's cool.
importance of you know, the playing in time, you know.
Yeah, yeah. So, who did you most model your style after?
Um,
Professional. What professional did you most model your
yeah,
style
well,
after?
like when I was 14, like I was saying about Carlos Santana, the thing that um the reason you know, he got my attention was I saw him at that Woodstock. I remember seeing this video of him playing, and he was sweating bullets, and he grabbed this note, and he looked like he was holding on to it for dear life or something, and it was just, I could tell he was just like feeling like he was just in the moment, like that's the way he felt at that moment. And for some reason, I wanted to play like that with that amount of passion. It kind of inspired me to not be so technical and play more from the heart, you know, the soul and all that, you know what I mean? And so those are the type guitar players that I gravitated towards, and that you know, it's very obvious when you can tell if a guy's playing from feel compared to someone who's, you know, kind of strictly technical. And so those are the ones that made me want to improve.
Do you feel like you've reached that point of passion, or is it still out there? Is there still more to
Yeah.
connect with?
Well, we can always get better. We can always get better.
Absolutely.
What keeps me motivated and keeps me vibrating at a frequency that I'm comfortable with and that I want to be at is by continuing to be creative, continuing to write songs, continuing to write the best song of my life. That motivates me, as opposed to just the career I've had, which I'm also totally grateful for, and all the big songs and everything. But I want to learn from that and try to, you know, I'm constantly, it's like I've compared it to a painter before. He's not going to go out and sell the same paintings every year. He wants to come up with a new one that people look at and go, holy cow, dude, that's amazing, you know. And that's kind of what keeps me, you know, going. And my love for music. I love it. You know, I have other interests, but that one always rules over everything. It's the one that, you know, it makes me happy, and it makes me feel a certain way when I hear a tune. I've even cried before just hearing a song. So there's not too many
Your own
things that can do
song,
that.
playing yourself. Yes. I have a quote of yours that I picked up from the internet. It says, my feeling is no matter what instrument you play, do it with passion and feeling. When music is delivered that way, it creates emotions which can make a person
Yeah.
cry at times.
And I'm
I
one of
like
the
that.
people that
And
can
I think
cry,
that
trust
fits.
me.
Well, there are those moments where we know we've hit the home
Yeah,
run. That's not arrogance. It's a far better hit than we thought we were going
yeah,
to get. That we achieved beyond what we thought we could, and we hit that moment of Shangri-La, that moment of extreme pleasure and even pride in ourselves.
yeah.
Uh, I recognize that at times. I know it's God getting the work done, but you're the one playing the guitar, okay? I'm the one who's preaching the sermon or interviewing you here. I get where our strength comes from, but I've always said you can pray to God to give you the farm, but He's never going to drive your tractor. So
Right.
that's the way it is with our music, through your practice, through that continual listening to others and picking up on nuances and being able to move forward with all of that. Uh, that's a pretty incredible place to be. So, who would you say is your favorite band of all times? Yeah, let's go
Wow.
not with just an individual
Yeah.
player, but a band that, yeah, they were just pure and clean, and they hit you with their music. It
Yeah.
touched you.
Very tough. I'm so song driven that so many different bands have shown so many different
Had
looks,
that one.
that I just absolutely love. You know, to pick one single band might just be a certain feel that they project and that I really like, but I
Yes.
also like, stuff that Guess Who wrote, that just blows my mind, how connected they are, and how you can. The thing about music is it means a song can mean a different thing to multiple people, you know. So, like when they had the MTV, they give you pictures of what they're talking about. But if you strip that away, it might mean a bunch of different stuff that wouldn't even relate to what they're projecting through video. You know what I mean? But back to your question, to single out one single band, I mean, I have several like that bring me back to my teenage years. Like Deep Purple was way up there with me. I used to roll out of bed and get ready for school and put on Highway Star, and it would be that rush of adrenaline that just got me excited to go about my day. Um, so there's stuff like that. Um, you know, what I love about bands is how I'm feeling at any given moment. I'm feeling like AC/DC right now, man. Let's go. Or I might be into listening to some Santana that's a little bit softer, but still grabs me. Um, I love Tom Petty. It's like I'm not just zeroed in on this one genre. Yeah, the guitar players that I listen to have a certain thing going on with the passion, the feel, the soul. But at the same time, like as far as songs, it's just such. There's so many great, songwriters and bands that it's like just to say one. Like I love Tom Petty. I love God, so many.
Hey,
It's it.
this is good. No,
Yeah.
I get that. It's oftentimes the mood of the
Yeah,
moment,
exactly.
and what that song can do to enhance that mood or change that
Yeah.
mood, or create one altogether new. So, yeah, I get the fact there's not one that you can pinpoint, but you can remember times in your lives when A was the most important or band B was
Yeah, I
most
mean, like I
important.
might be in the mood to
So,
listen
yeah,
to Carole King, who's just a wonderful singer, and that album Tapestry is like one of my favorite records ever, but it has nothing to do with like rock or anything that I play. It's just that I love melody and song so much, it almost takes me back to when I was a little kid, that,
yeah, yeah.
like we were talking about earlier.
So, if if your career had not been rock music, what would have been the second music choice?
I don't know. I think as far as labeling the style, that's really up to the people that listen to it. But I go by just the songs I write. I would never like think style before I wrote a song. I would just I just come up with what's in my head, whatever's in between my ears at that time, and I put it in on tape, and then it's up to you to tell me what it is. You know what I mean? It's like I can't really. I've never been the type.
You didn't lock yourself.
Yeah, I've never been the type that goes, okay, I'm gonna write nothing but R&B or I'm going to come up with this tune, and then you tell me what category you think it could go in. I don't write like I'm going to write a rock song right now. I don't do that. I just write like I'll hear a riff in my head, and I try to get it onto my guitar. And over the years, I've gotten better with that. So I don't know what to say about that. Really.
No, that fits. And those are the kind of answers. Because I ask a question doesn't mean there's an absolute answer, all right? But you're opening us to new thoughts and a broader range of thinking, and I appreciate that. Your years in the music industry, give us a couple of the highlights and a couple of the lowlights.
I would say one of the highlights, because my father kind of wanted me to be a baseball player, and he was my coach every year from 8 to 18, and I was getting a little bit disheartened when I was almost 18, and there were so many better players than me, that did everything better, that I went full-time music. And so, he wasn't discouraging, he was supportive, but I just don't think he thought there was much of a chance for me to be like successful in music. That's the way I think he was thinking. So he wanted me to stick with baseball and just like keep firing away at it, and I just, when there was guys on my own team better than me, I just go, there's no scout in the world that's going to come check me out. So I'm just being a realist here, So I just, and I love music anyway, so it wasn't a forced issue. It wasn't like something to fall back on. I was playing music every day. So it was a natural thing to do, was to go full-time music. And so one of the things that kind of sticks out is when we played the Forum, which is where the Los Angeles Lakers play, and where all the big bands play. When we played there and got platinum records on stage and everything for selling millions of records, I gave him that and had him be a part of that. That was really kind of a great moment. And then after our first album, as far as on the downside, we got dropped off the label after just one. Well, we played with Judas Priest for about 6 months and played over in Europe with Whitesnake, and came home, and the record company, we didn't sell quite 100,000, and instead of working with us or trying anything, they pretty much we parted ways and essentially dropped from the label. So, we had to make our own record and keep firing away. We got another hit on the radio, thankfully. And we had to borrow money from a guy to make the record and all this stuff. So in a way, it's almost like learning from your mistakes, in life, and you learn and you don't do it that way next time or whatever. yeah, we had to take our lumps, but at the end, it made us work that much harder, and then we got our opportunities opened up for us again, which was lucky for us that we got a second chance.
Yes, yes. Professionally, as a lead guitarist, everything I've read tells me that that lead guitarist is usually the person that he's the extrovert in the group. Was that the case with Great White? Would you consider yourself the extrovert of the group? And I know there were different combinations of the band, but generally speaking, or whatever one, when I mention Great White, you go back to, or whatever that
Right.
case may be.
I present songs to the band, but I'm very much a team player. I never wanted anybody to feel like I was some kind of big cheese or, like even a leader role. I was more of open to hearing their ideas and what they have. Like my other guitar player, keyboard player, Michael Lardy. Hey, what do you got? You got any ideas? Oh man, I really like that. Let's work on that. So instead of
That
to eliminate the risk of ego and all that, I always wanted to make the song the most important thing, and let's all fight like a team and make this song, whatever we have to do to make this song great. Let's do that. So
let's compete together, not against each
right, and
other.
and I don't have to be the captain, of the ship, and really, we don't really ever argue over any small stuff. It's usually about the song. We can butt heads
Yeah.
if I think we should do this to make this song better. And what ends up usually happening is the song always wins, so it usually comes out how it should.
I would think that has helped Great White stay fresh, uh, stay refreshing over the years. That because there's different input, it's not all Mark Kendall's music, Mark Kendall's
Right.
idea, or any other member of the band. You've got uh, you've got that bass who's giving the word this time. You've got the guy on the drums who's giving the word this time. And you're working through things and, hey, let's give this a try. Let's make this the best we can. And you judge it from there and decide what you're going to
Yeah.
do with it.
Absolutely.
So that's an
Plus,
emphasis
that's
to
what makes
me.
it a band. If we could, everybody feels like they're contributing, even though, Michael and I are the main songwriters as far as the music and everything, but they're contributing the bass and the bass parts, and it's very musical what the bass player is doing as well. So I want everybody to feel like an equal member, and like I said, we don't need a big
I'm going
cheese.
Yeah, I'm going back to thinking of your dad coaching you in
Yeah.
baseball. You had to play as a team, and that's the way you operated as a band. Sometimes somebody had to be the one to speak up and speak out, but that's a lot different than
Exactly.
dictating.
Exactly
And
right.
we lose our
And usually the
creativity
teams that
that
play as
way.
a
So,
team,
yeah,
they win a lot.
yes, yes, yes. What, uh, what was one of the toughest things for you as far as touring, the wear and tear on your lifestyle? I'm sure it had to make family life difficult. I don't know how many days you'd be out in a year in the heyday, and I know you're still out and about
Mm.
now. And so, what What was that like? It looks pretty glamorous from the outside, but we know better. It can't be that way all the
So
time. Okay, you've got those practices, that
yeah,
travel, all the
it it
yeah, all those struggles.
it it's a teenager's dream to be in a big rock band, sell millions of records, and tour the world. There's a lot of sacrifices um, when you have a family. You know, you're watching your kids grow up on videotapes. You can't have them out as much as you want. Um, you know, so being away from friends and family, that was probably the hardest thing for me. And and also we're getting into this in the next segment, but the drinking, it kind of wears you down after a while, you know. And I don't know, you know, there's a lot of pressures. Um, you know, we tried not to read our own press very much because, you know, eh, the last thing I need to read is how great I am or how horrible I am. You know, but neither one is probably
Exactly.
not that good for me to.
You're somewhere
Yeah,
in the middle.
I mean,
You,
if I just hear
you're
people are talking
somewhere in
about
the
us, that's
middle of
good
the.
enough. I don't need to, you know, I don't need to read about, you know. But yeah,
Yeah,
there's a lot
yeah.
of grueling travel. You know, you're playing 5 nights a week, and in arenas, you know, and we're on the days off we were playing clubs and stuff. So sometimes we didn't have any days off. We were just like nonstop playing. So it's not easy, but
Yeah. So how long have you been?
it's also a blessing, you know. That's just part of it, you know.
Sure, sure. How long have you been playing professionally?
Well, the first record deal, I was 24 years old. I'm 66. So how many years is that? Is that 42?
That's about
42.
42.
42 skidoo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you see a few more years in this?
Well, yeah. I mean, as long as I stay healthy, which I feel pretty good. The fans are still. We really have loyal fans all over the world. So we go, you know, when we go play live, we don't tour as grueling as we used to. We mostly do what they call fly dates. We'll fly out and do 2 or 3 shows and then come home. Instead of being in a bus for months at a time and then come home, like after, you know, a year and a half or something, which has happened. I've At one tour, I turned 2 ages one time. I was 31 when I got home. I was 33. You know, so we don't do that anymore. But we still go out and play, you know, 50 shows a year, and you know, go over to Europe, and maybe that's the
Of-
only time we'll maybe do a run like 6 weeks or something. But out here, I'm home every week. I'm enjoying the family. Just celebrated 26 years of marriage yesterday. So, you know, and I have things away
Congrats.
from music that I like. I like to play pool. I'm a pretty good pool player for a guitar player, and you know, compete and stuff like that. So that kind of fun.
Good, good, good. Uh, what if you could just up and go, and what's one of the places you would like to go where you would perform? Let's go back there and just give us one place that's near the top of the list, either by
Right.
experience, geography. You know, you guys hit it out of the park,
Yeah.
whatever the case may be. Give us one of those
I
areas,
would say
please.
home is number one, but as far as like being on the road, going somewhere, Switzerland is at the very top of my list. I have wonderful friends there that, you know, we're connected at the hip. We've gone up to the Swiss Alps. You know, he has family there. You know, they live in this little village. My wife can go horseback riding, and it's just nonstop postcard. I mean, Rhine River, you know, it's just the most beautiful, clean country you could ever imagine. And also, when you go there, it's almost like spiritual. You feel it. You feel the place more than see it. It's beauty everywhere, and the people treat you like golden. They're just so sweet. They're so, so nice. So I love to go there, not only to play, festivals and whatnot, but for vacation. We've actually been, my wife and I have gone there just for vacation.
Yeah, I had the experience during my military career back in the early 70s to visit Switzerland and spend some time on the Rhine
Nice.
River. Yeah, I remember those castles located on nearly every curve of the
Yeah,
river, or so it seemed. The
gorgeous.
beauty of it
Yeah.
all. I didn't have it as intimate as you did in that
Uh,
respect, but what an incredible
yeah,
area.
so you've been there, you
So
know
I
what I'm
get
talking
bits
about.
and pieces of this. Yes, sir. I'll tell you what, Mark, we're gonna start to wrap this segment up. But as we do, go ahead and give the folks just a couple minute teaser here of what life started to look like as your addiction started to take over. I just want to give them a little lead in and we'll go
Okay.
from there, please.
Um, well, I've always been kind of compulsive, and kind of a beer guy. I've always had this kind of embedded fear that I can't explain. Not so much to play in front of a bunch of people, but more like just small social situations. So I always used like beer as a vehicle to be able to get through all that easy. And it became a rut after a while. And when I was 34 years old, I was getting kind of tired of waking up with hangovers and just feeling horrible and guilt and shame and all this stuff that goes with it. And I was completely ignorant to rehabs and 12 step groups and all that. I had no clue. So I ended up going to Arizona to a rehab place for 30 days. And we can go from there.
Oh, that's awesome. That'll be a good place for us to take off. Yeah,
Mhm.
thank you for that and sharing that. We're going to find out. I know you have certain feelings about AA and the meaning of the old phrase, one day at a time. We're going to talk
Okay.
about that. We'll talk about some of those pains and losses
Yeah.
and how easy it probably was to fall into this in your chosen career, the enablement that came about as just being a part of the industry and everything that went with that. So we thank you for that, folks. Thank you for joining us on this first part of this two-piece interview with Mark Kendall of Great White. In just a moment, we're going to come. Well, actually, it'll be next Friday, but we're going to do this in just a moment. We'll come back with episode 2 or part 2 of this. Make sure you come join us. That's when we're going to talk about Mark's struggle with alcohol and drugs and how he was able to climb out of that and more of the life he's living today. So God bless you. Stay in the battle. Keep it up. We care. Amen.